Tonight, acting premier informs the Whanokipule of the $10 million deficit. 23 yachts of the World Art Rally arrived to Niue. Good evening, I'm Losana Sioneholo. The second sitting of the 18th Niue Legislative Assembly, after being postponed from yesterday due to technical issues, was finally able to commence this morning after 10 a.m. In his statement from the acting Premier of Niue and Minister of Finance, Honourable Crossley Tatui, informed the members that the government budget has found $10 million deficit. In response to the questions by Member of Parliament Honourable Olaf Jacobson, Member for Toidi Ondaufitu and Mutalau Member of Parliament Maureen Milikitama about understanding where this $10 million deficit has derived from and what the government's preparations are to address this deficit. Acting Premier Tatui responded that the government is working with the New Zealand government. Although not confirmed, it is likely to look into concessional loans, grants, as well as regional partners such as Asian Development Bank for assistance. There were also mentions of reviewing economic reforms and financial policies. In the second part of the whānau, Honourable Jacobson acknowledged Acting Premier and Minister Tatui for his responses, quoting, "Thank you for being honest in your answers to our questions." Premier Dalton Tangalangi departed the island last week to attend two high-level regional meetings in Port Moresby of Papua New Guinea. The first being the fifth summit of the Forum for India-Pacific Islands Cooperation, which is the FIPIC, and the second which is the United States Pacific Islands Leaders Forum. Both events took place on Monday this week. In a government press statement, Premier Tangalangi expressed his appreciation to the government of Papua New Guinea for the hospitality and welcomed the support from India and the United States in strengthening their relationships. The Premier will be attending another high-level summit in South Korea, the 2023 Korea-Pacific Islands Summit. The group of 17 members of partners of the Pacific Financial Technical Assistance Center, which is the BFTAC, arrived on the island on Monday this week. As part of an annual regional meeting with Pacific counterparts, BFTAC looks at the nation's macroeconomics and financial policies and provides support and assistance to where it is needed. Here's more on the story.
On Tuesday, a PIFTAC steering committee meeting took place at the scenic Matavai Resort conference room, where BCN News spoke with the director of PIFTAC, Samir Jahan.
Today's meeting is our annual gathering to review progress so far in the implementation of economic reforms, to review equally the economic situation in the region. We will have presentations from colleagues in the IMF in Washington and in Suva to assess the economic challenges, which are many given the multiple crises that the countries have been facing in the region. And we'll see how PIFTAC in the next 5 years can provide support and meet the demand of our members. Our key counterparts are usually the finance ministries, but also reserve banks, where countries have their own reserve bank. Another objective of this meeting is to bring together our partners. PIFTAC wouldn't be functioning without the support of our partners, which in the region are New Zealand, Australia, Korea, the Asian Development Bank, but also the United States of America, Canada, and the European Union. So they're all gathered here to discuss progress and the way PIFTAC has been working in the last 5 years, and how we can do even better for the next following years.
Director Samir also shared 3 key objectives that PIFTAC is working with the Pacific Island nations to respond to the economic shocks felt across the Pacific, including Niue.
The COVID has taken a big toll on the economy. No more tourism, no more, much less trade. So it was for Niue, but most of the Pacific Island countries, extreme shock to the economy. With the opening of borders, we see in some countries tourism rebounding. It is clearly the case in Fiji, for instance, but not all island has benefit from that recovery, and Niue has not yet benefited. But the finance minister mentioned that with the opening, they hope that this will be happening. So we see at the IMF three main challenges in the region. One, of course, is how do we recover from the pandemic. Second is how countries can deal with another shock that hit the world economy, which is the war in Ukraine that has affected prices, commodity prices, supply chain, and the third shock, which is existential for the region, is climate change. We know that climate change will impact these islands each in different ways. Rising sea level will affect more islands than others, but we have natural disasters which come on in addition. So countries need to have the capacity, what we call in our jargon fiscal space, to cope and to deal with these kind of shocks, to adjust the policies when needed, so that there is a strong response when they do occur to the benefit of the populations.
After a series of consultations and meetings between PIFTAC and the Niue government, a dinner ceremony hosted by the Tuapa Village Council closed off the official program of PIFTAC to Niue yesterday evening.
The Pacific Agreement on Closer Economic Relations, otherwise commonly known as PESA Plus, is a comprehensive free trade agreement between Pacific Island countries. New Zealand and Australia. PESA Plus includes trade in goods, trade in services, investment and labour mobility. This morning, PCA News was able to speak with PESA Plus Implementation Unit experts from Samoa who are currently in Niue in preparation for PESA Plus first regional meeting to be held on the island next week.
PESA Plus advisor and labour mobility specialist Dr. Alisi Holani this morning explained more.
The trade agreement really looks at how we can create an enabling environment to support foreign direct investment, trade and services, and just looking at your gross domestic product GDP analysis over the past years, it's very clear that your services sector, especially your tourism industry, has the greatest potential to drive economic development. And the free trade agreement under the PESA Plus is really the first Pacific free trade agreement that is in force, that has detailed commitments on trade and services. And so the agreement has the potential to really drive that development aspect for Niue, and in services, not only for tourism, but also given that services are key inputs for the production of goods as well as other services. It can help to increase the competitiveness of your honey exports, your production of agricultural products such as vanilla, and also to boost all other aspects of private sector development here in Niue.
The PESA Plus agreement was signed in 2017 and entered into force in December of 2020. Niue is one of 8 Pacific countries, including the Cook Islands, Kiribati, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Vanuatu. Executive Governance Coordinator of the PESA Plus Implementation Unit touched on what is to be expected for its first regional meeting here on the island next week.
Niue is the current chair and host of the Joint Committee, and so it will be the 5th meeting of the Joint Committee that will be hosted by Niue next week, from the 30th of May to the 1st of June. This is our first in-person meeting. Because since COVID, all of our joint committee meetings have been held virtually. And I think it would be good to explain that the joint committee is the governing body for the treaty, and its main function is to monitor and implement obligations of the treaty. So the joint committee consists of trade officials from each party. So we will have 10 countries represented next week, including Niue as chair. this meeting is important as it will take stock of implementation of the treaty for the last 2 years since the treaty entered into force in 2020, and it will also look at shaping the new work program for the next financial year.
A 2-day workshop hosted by the Niue Meteorological Services and the Project Management Corporation Unit, which is the PMCU, began yesterday and concluded this afternoon. The workshop took place at the Millennium Hall in Alofi, where it aimed at developing Niue's national framework for weather, water and climate services. Here's Saraya Mangawa with more on the story.
According to climate consultant Janita Bahalad in her speech yesterday morning, the key objective of the workshop is to bring together key stakeholders, community and village council members to help develop Niue's national framework for weather, water and climate services.
In the 2 days, what we're going to do is first see where we are today. First, we understand where the Met Service is at today, what they are doing, what they're providing, what the capacity is to provide. And also looking at the resources they have at the moment. And understand what are being used. So understand what the stakeholders like yourselves and others, if you're getting information, what are you doing with that information? Do you understand that information? Or is it something more that you want and you feel like it's actually not there?
Also in her speech, the director of the Niue Meteorological Services, Mrs. Rosie Misiepo, shared the importance of helping our people know more about our climate, disasters and weather conditions.
In order to understand the impacts of climate change, we need to understand the weather situation in our own homes, our own villages and our country. We need to understand the climate normals. What is the rainfall like in a month? What is the rainfall like in a year? What about the temperature conditions, the sea surface temperature around our oceans in Niue? Climate change is a change of state in our normal climate system due to man-made greenhouse gases. The impacts of climate change is affecting all of us, all our sectors, our culture, our people, and our environment.
In the past month, the Niue Meteorological Services with PMCU were able to commission 2 important automated weather stations, one located at Liku Village and the other at Waipapahi Farm in Hikutawake. Director Rosie says that these stations serve as an initiative also into Niue's framework for weather, water and climate services.
A public forum meeting on Pacific mental health and climate change took place at the Aliutu Town Hall in Alofi South last Sunday evening. A good number of the public were present at the forum, where they could hear from the 6 Pacific academic researchers who came to Niue last week to finalize their research on climate change and the impacts of mental health. Here's more on the story.
The public forum gave members of the community the opportunity to listen and hear from Pacific academic researchers from various universities in New Zealand, including the University of Canterbury, University of Waikato and the University of Auckland. There were also academic professors from universities from the United Kingdom who spoke on climate change and cultural heritage. The teams are now finalizing their findings gathered from Niue and other Pacific communities. They are now at the stage where they have collaborated with their Pacific colleagues who have looked at all the available evidence and are grateful for the collaboration with Niueans like local consultant and researcher Jamal Talangi Vedriaki and Met Director Rosie Misiepo and many others who contributed to this piece of research. The public forum also gave clarity to the misconceived term mental health. Researchers explained that much more often than not, mental health is seen as negative, often mistaken with mental distress, mental illness, and mental disorder. But mental health is much more positive. It is an identity, sense of belonging, and indigenous way of knowing, doing, and being. There was a great emphasis on research being Pacific-led and centered, which was evidently expressed and seen through the 6 Pacific researchers at the public forum. Climate financing was also highlighted in the conversations. For many years and decades, the Pacific has been calling for climate financing in the conferences of the parties, especially for support of Pacific small island developing states. But according to Dr. Christina La'alai-Tausar from the University of Canterbury, due to having less data to back up their claims, the Pacific is left to the decision-making of non-Pacific Island leaders who are unaware of the real issues faced in the Pacific Island communities. Once again, with no financial support and assistance to address the impacts of climate change, the vulnerable islands of the Pacific. It was a very informative public forum with engaging questions and answers that followed at the end from those who attended. The researchers left the island on Monday this week, but it will not be their last visit to Niue, as the work still continues for Niue and the Pacific region in addressing the world's largest global issue of climate change.
3 academic professors and archaeologists from the United Kingdom are currently here on the island to undergo a project on Pacific Islands Endangered Cultural Heritage Survey, documenting cultural heritage in the Niue and the Cook Islands, and climate change and heritage. Earlier today, they were able to hold another workshop at Taonga Niue building to discuss and share their findings of Niue's historical sites. Here is more on the story. The team of 3 includes Professor Jane Downs from the University of Highlands and Islands, Professor Gate Wilhelm from Bournemouth University, and Dr. Lawrence Shaw from Forestry, England. PCN News spoke with Professor Jane last Thursday on their mission here to the island.
We find Niue's archaeology and historic sites particularly interesting because we think there's a lot of potential to look at what still survives and find out more about the past working with the community here.
Last Wednesday, a cultural heritage workshop was held at the Taonga Niue building, conducted by the professors. The archaeologists are currently visiting sites on the island this week.
Sites, because here you have some sites that aren't found anywhere else, and then some sites that reflect how people interacted with other islands and other island groups. So there's some really fascinating things to be seen, I think.
A second workshop, which took place earlier today at the Taonga Niue building, was held to learn more about the findings of the research in Niue. The first group of a total of 23 wall-arch yachts can currently be seen mooring off the coast from the wharf in Alofi. After 2 years since the impact of COVID-19 hit worldwide, Niue remained dormant without its usual foreign visitors to the island, either by air or sea. But we could see from last week a number of yachts flocked the west coast of Alofi, a fulfilling sight to see of the recent phase post-pandemic. Here's Soraya Mangawa with more on the story.
PCN News caught up with Managing Director of the World Ark, Paul Tetlow, yesterday morning, who explained to us what the World Ark is about.
World Ark is a 15-month round-the-world circumnavigation event, leaving from the Caribbean in January, crossing over the Pacific and arriving in Australia in August, then going across the Indian Ocean down to South Africa, and in the final 3 months of the 15 months across the South Atlantic to Brazil and then back up to the Caribbean.
The 13 different nations the yachties come from include Sweden, Mexico, Argentina, Holland, Spain, United Kingdom, and the United States of America, says Paul.
Well, first of all, I say we're really excited to be back here. As you said, it's 2 years since World Cruising Club's visited with boats of the World Ark fleet, so it's really exciting for us. We're visiting over this next week. There's 23 boats in total from 13 different nationalities. On board those boats, we've got several boats with families on board, and within that there's 11 children on board the boats. So what a great experience for those children travelling around the world, around the equatorial routes in 15 months and seeing places like Niue on that route.
After their short visit to Niue, World Ark will be sailing to Tonga, says Paul. He is extremely grateful for the Niue Yacht Club and the Niue community for their great help, support and hospitality while on the island.
Last Saturday, the Niue National Commission, in collaboration with Taonga Niue and the Education Department, hosted a special cultural concert of the different ethnic groups on the island in celebration of UNESCO International Day of Diversity of Cultural Expressions. The event took place at the Taonga Niue building, where a full-backed audience watched and enjoyed the performances and singing of 8 ethnic groups, including Cook Islands, Maori, Papua New Guinea, Filipino, United States of America, Samoa, China, and the Kingdom of Tonga. Here are some of the highlights of the day. And that's our news bulletin for tonight. Stay safe and have a nice weekend and good evening.